Look at this Excel spreadsheet. You might have something like this in your office. In fact, many people in office jobs, these Excel spreadsheets are the lifeblood of their business because they don't have an app that handles their exact process, right? Well, um, today we're going to go over this, but somebody posted in my free, oh, I had a window open here that I needed to close. There we go. Had somebody in the free school environment that said, hey, this is my spreadsheet here, and I brought it in the PowerApps, and it's just not working right. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay. So what we'll start off with is we're going to take a look at this. So if I was working at a place, or if a company came to me, me being a freelancer or what have you, I'm going to go through all the steps that I would go through to turn this spreadsheet into a PowerApps application. Okay. So first of all, I want to welcome everybody. So Kurt, Patty, it's nice having you on. And Amber, if you share your video, I'll bring you on as well as any of the other accelerator students that might come on and share their video. And I see that the live chat is already nice and happening. I see Rosa and Nick, Francisco, Rick, David. Very cool. I'm very glad you guys have joined me this morning. And so the first thing that I'm going to do here is give Kurt a chance to, give his thoughts on such a project. Do you have any thoughts on this before I jump into what I would do?
Well, I think that this is a perfect I love the idea that you're doing this live stream on this, because I think this is a great use case. I think that a lot of people probably work in offices that have spreadsheets like this, and they are just a hot mess a lot of times. And it's really nobody's fault. It's just, you talk oftentimes about projects and how we get creep. You get creep within projects. Well, I think creep happens within spreadsheets. You start off with this great idea, and then they add this thing to it and this thing to it, and then you got this hot mess, right? So I think this is a great use case. Obviously, all of this needs to be put into a Power App. I believe that's probably why that's one of the main reasons why Microsoft leaned towards Power Apps for creating that. So that's one thought. And then the second thought is there is a lot of tables that are going to get broke out of this and created in the right way. That was my second thought. Those are my two thoughts I got. It's early in the morning. I'm just waking up. And hi, Patty. Also, I just want to congratulate Patty because she worked hard. Most of you guys know in life as a programmer, there's no in between, there's no middle ground. You're either a hero and you just love it and it's just great, or you just stink and nothing's working right. But there's no in between those things, right? So she struggled through that thing, and she tore it up yesterday, and she got a lot of stuff done, and she's got a win. Maybe we'll talk about that later on.
Oh, fantastic.
Anyway, so okay, I'm just gonna give the floor back to you before I
already
talk this thing.
Well, that was quick. All right. So Tony A says, hey, great timing. I have a large project coming up that has a number of Excel files that need to be consolidated into a database in PowerApps.
Good money.
Or in PowerApp. Very good. Fantastic. So what I do, and I have these videos lined up that sort of show how you would do this for any type of project. I don't care if you're going to write it in Python, PowerApps, VB, or Pascal. I would probably do this same project. So what does that tell you? If Microsoft decides that Power Platform was pretty cool, but hey, we just invented something new, let's say 10 years in the future, and you've learned Power Apps and you got years of experience, but if you learn the software development life cycle and how to plan and analyze and gather the requirements properly, this stuff is going to help you in any project.
That's
whether
right.
No matter what language you're trying to build a little app out of or a big app out of. Okay. So one thing I wanted to direct everyone's attention to is a video where I go through all the steps much more thoroughly. It was a live stream. Let me see if I can pull it up right here. So if I'm doing a search for Darren Neese, I've got, I could just go to my channel, but I got so many videos, it's just hard to find. So I'm going to do a search for Darren Neese and not doing it right. Now, I think the thumbnail says not doing it right. There we go. Here we go. What you're missing in your PowerApps app. Okay. So this was a 2.5 hour live stream where we go through all the steps. And I'm probably going to go through it a little bit quicker in this session because number one, I've covered all that type of stuff. So we'll be quickly going over the planning and analysis, and we'll be spending more time inside of PowerApps, which we didn't do very much in that video because we were talking about all the planning and designing stuff, you know?
Right. I like the idea of using this as a kind of, it's kind of like an exercise on from that video. So it's like, you know, hey, we're just going to break this thing out and make a power app from it. You know, this is a good use case of that video is what I'm trying to say in that.
Absolutely. And I do have my show notes here. And by the way, guys, if you see me taking notes in this tool, it's called Obsidian. I love this tool for taking notes, keeping things organized and such. I know there's a lot of tools out there. This is by far my favorite. And if you go out to powerplatformlinks.com, you can access all of my notes here. So I'm going to paste that link over in the chat so you guys have that. You can bookmark that. Okay. And if you go to the website, it looks like this. Okay. And these are just my notes about the Power Platform. So Power Apps, and let's say planning and design. I'm going to zoom in here because I don't think the font's very big there, and I'll make us a little smaller. And you see the one planning and design. You did it wrong. Okay. So you're going to get to this website here. Okay. And I can actually paste that link as well if it helps anybody out. Okay. And let's make sure that I've got any helpful information at the top of the screen to help you guys out. By the way, guys, I'm giving away my crash course. Okay. So all you got to do is follow that link, join the community, and you'll get access. Now, it used to be called the master class. There's quite a bit to the course, and it's been out there for about 2 years. And I was selling it for, I don't know, $20 or $30. I was trying to provide a lot of value with a low ticket. But at this point, I'm giving away for free. So there's a link at the top, just sort of FYI, if you guys are interested. So phase one, planning design. So let's just go over this stuff. Application definition. Let's go over to the community that I'm talking about here. And I will actually show you the thread I'm working with. Okay. As long as you sign up this free community, you go over to Classroom. It's the very first item, Power Apps Crash Course. And soon you'll be able to see at least the first portion, the first module to get a taste of all the cool stuff that Kurt's doing. Going back up here, I'm just going to type in, this is a great feature of this platform. Okay, so let me see if I can see the search bar a little bit. I think I might hide the overlay for now. There we go. And I'm going to go up here and type Excel. You guys can join the community and do exactly what I'm doing. Okay. There's a lot of good links. So by the way, I just posted this today. Use Python code inside of Excel. That's interesting. And I put that out there to see. I mean, I think I actually did this 2 hours ago. So not a lot of people have had a chance to really look at things. But if you've learned any type of Python, you can actually use it in Excel. I thought that was really cool. Some tips. Exporting from Access or Excel to SharePoint. That's it. It might be. Open this one and open this one. You know what they're dealing with is OSHA. OSHA, it's not OSHA, it's OSHA, right? You know what, Kurt? Would you be able to go into the community? I'm sort of surprised it doesn't come up under that search keyword. Maybe bring it up a new window and look for the person who posted a screenshot of this. And I said, hey, can I get a copy of that? And
Yeah.
then I asked him if I could use it for a live session. So I almost want to, and if you don't mind, respond to him and say, hey, Darren is live right now
Yeah.
doing this for you. So I want to make sure he or she knows about it. Okay. If you don't mind doing
Very
that for
good.
me, that'd be great. All right. So I'm going to open my notes again here, if I can find them. All right. What's the initial information? Is there an existing system, existing data? Well, yeah, we have the spreadsheet, and they're wanting to get this into PowerApps. So identifying the entities. Okay. So if you look at the information that you have, this might sound a little elementary, and I'm glad because it's actually very simple. Okay. Identifying entities. You're going to have corresponding database tables, perhaps screens, okay, in your project that map to these entities that you identify. What is an entity? Okay, well, you look over the project or the description of the project, the requirements, and you identify the nouns. Okay, so what I'm going to do over here, actually, I'm going to create a note real quick because I want separate notes for this morning. We call it Excel to Power Apps. And we'll actually use SharePoint as a backend. Okay, because most people do use SharePoint, even though it's okay. It's not really the best data source. I would probably reach for a Dataverse instead, or if there's a little bit of a budget, probably go with SQL Server. But so I'm going to put some notes here. Is identify the nouns. Okay, here we'll put something else in a moment. Okay, but I'm going to indent over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up this spreadsheet here, and I'm going to identify any nouns. Okay.
Hey, Darren.
Mm-hmm.
Could you look up? Could you do go to school real quick and look at that filtering data source? I want to make sure I'm on the right one. I think this is the right one.
Are you sharing your screen, or what do you want me to look at?
I could do that though. Well,
sure. Yeah, go ahead. I will hide my screen here.
Okay, this could be a problem.
Okay. Well, let me know when you have it ready.
Yeah, here we go.
So I'm just going to continue on here, and I'm identifying the nouns. Okay, so instead of OSHA is OHS. Okay, and okay, Kurt's got something up here for us. Very good. Yeah. Whoa, we went into the matrix there.
Yeah, that wasn't good, was it? Hold on.
Yeah, you used your the screen that's got Restream on it.
Okay. Let me get that off.
So you think you'll be able to get it?
I'll get it here. Just a minute. Go back.
Okay. Coming like a wrecking ball. I love you, Kurt. I love you like a brother.
Ain't it great?
Okay, so I'm identifying nouns. I'm trying here. Awareness programs. Okay, very good. Well, we have programs, or the singular program. Okay, what else do we have? But they also said /course. Okay, now my question is that really the same thing? So I'm just going to say /course. And for now, I'm going to say they're the same thing because if you look at the column here, okay, and maybe the orange ones are the courses and the green ones are the programs. That's a possibility. Okay, so maybe we need to keep track of. I don't know if the person that pasted this thing. Let me look at the chat. He might be actually in here.
So yeah, it is the right one. I've got the right one. I look at now that you brought this up, I can see it's the right one, and I'm going to go ahead and let him know that you're going right now.
Yeah, that's fantastic because you know what? I sort of need his input here. You know, I want to ask about these orange and green, and it might be the difference between a course and a program. Okay, and it's sort of hard for me to. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat. Kurt, if you don't mind, just keeping an eye on the private chat and respond to those in there, or if you think it's applies to what I'm talking about, go ahead and read them out for me. And so Nick, who's a sharp guy, orange appears mandatory. Is that what you meant there? Private chat keeps popping up here. Orange appears mandatory, which I'm assuming that might be mandatory. If not, let me know. Okay. So we've identified one program course. Okay, well, look at this. Managing director. Okay, that's a noun. Construction manager, project manager. Okay. So let's break this down. So I just looking at that, I'm going to say manager, right? But what else do we have here? We have foreman. Okay, so not all of them are managers, but look at the patterns of the nouns. Do they repeat? Okay. Well, I would say these might be titles or they might be positions, employment positions. Okay. So what I'm going to say is maybe job role instead of manager. Job role. Leave that singular. Okay. So now we have two entities. All right. So now you realize, of course, my screen is really small there. I'm going to show my screen now because and hide that. Let's see here. Rosa, could you use private chat there? Could you use this same method for spreadsheets in Teams instead of SharePoint? Oh. Now, when you say spreadsheets, Rosa, are you talking about Excel? You could use Excel as a data source, okay? And you know what? To answer this question fully, I think what we might do is add what are these little tabs at the bottom? Does anybody know? These tabs. So it says sheet one. What is that called? It's called I always forget the name of it.
Worksheets.
Worksheet. Thank you. We could create a worksheet for each of our nouns, which will become our database tables. Okay. Or workbook. Okay. Worksheet or workbook. I've actually heard both of those. Maybe that's why it's so hard for me to remember what those are called or how to refer to those. A lot of times I'll just, the tabs at the bottom. So what we could do is we could start off there. And I could show you in this session, if you have Excel data, how to migrate that over to SharePoint, at least. I mean, you could very, very well just migrate it all over to the Dataverse as well. Okay, so we could talk about that just depending upon the timing and how much we're getting done here. Okay, so ensure I am.
All right, so mission has been accomplished.
Oh, what happened?
I reached out to Tony, and we'll see if he wants to join us.
I've had so much going on these last few days. I meant to at least give him a day notice. Hey, we're doing this. In fact, Kurt, I was thinking about. I was just planning on this Saturday morning stream to just go back to our onboarding, doing SQL Server, and that's going to be a large project, and there's going to be a lot of sessions. And Kurt, you said, it'd probably be good to have a break from that because a lot of people need this. I thought about it for a second. I'm like, you're absolutely right. Kurt, you're not always right, but when you're right, man, you are really on. It's a little bit of an inside joke between us guys.
And I definitely need to be right. So I love to hear that.
I think we all need to be right on here and there, right? Right?
I get really angry when I'm not right. So I used to tell people when I was teaching in the college, I used to say, even when I'm wrong, I'm right. I'm always right. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right. So just remember that.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move us around maybe. Okay. So we've identified two nouns. What about these things, Kurt? Would you call this, what is this? When I replace, no, I don't want to mess with anything here. Okay. So it looks like these are values, possible values, maybe like in a drop down or something. So I wouldn't call these nouns. I would call these what about this? Like this, Kurt. Let's identify Now I want you to go on a spiel here, Kurt. Get ready.
Well,
Drink
I'm
one more
trying to
sip of coffee because you're going to be on the spot here. And you ready for
I'm
this?
trying to catch up here. Okay, don't. I'm trying to catch up, man. All right.
It's just a spreadsheet.
Well, I'm not seeing the thing very well. It's all distorted, so it's
Do you need a
hard to
bigger
see.
screen?
That
Guys,
might be
he has got 100-inch monitor. I think it's more like 55 inches, but it's well, when I'm talking with him, meeting with him, I'll say, hey, did something pop up on any of your screens? And this is what his head does. And I'm like, Kurt, that's not normal, bro. To turn your chin 90, and he's got it in all directions. So he might post that in the school environment so you guys
Hey,
can see.
I it's a great productivity. It's the greatest thing in the world. That thing, I can have 7 or 8 browsers open at one time on that one screen and just pull them over. It's just great, man. So yeah.
So here's a question, Francisco. What program was Darren that was typing? It looks like VS Code. So I don't know if this is what you're talking about. This is Obsidian, and it's a free program. If you do a search for Obsidian Markdown or MD, you'll find it. And if that's not what you were talking about, let me know. I've got the Excel spreadsheet and this. I think that's the only 2 things that I've shared so far, maybe the community. So that's what you want to look for, Obsidian. And if you're interested, there's a channel called No Boilerplate, and he had, I think, the best introduction to Obsidian, and I want to share that with you. So I'm going to put that in a few places for you guys. Okay, put it in the chat. And this guy explains it really well. He explains it to the point, and he's a software developer in Rust. Have you ever heard of Rust, Kurt?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
I had never heard of Rust before I started seeing some of his videos. And that Obsidian, it's the name of the video is Hack Your Brain with Obsidian.md. And it has 1.3 million views, which none of my videos have views. And that was just done 3 months ago. What's that?
That's pretty good. That's impressive.
Yeah, check it out. It's a very good video. Oh, okay, I shouldn't have brought that tab open. Okay. Kurt, what is an enumerated value? Describe what that is, because you're the one who taught me what it was.
Right. So, boy, I tell you what, I was ready to talk about that one. That was right there. I was just ready for that one. So in order to talk about enumeration, you need to talk about ordinal data. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Ordinal data. There's,
well, you got to tell me what ordinal data is now.
When we think about ordinal data is when you know what was, so you know where you're at in the moment. So like for instance, an integer is ordinal because we know that 2 is that we know its place. We know what came before 2 and we know what came after 2. So that's ordinal data. So that's an integer would be a real ordinal data. A character would be ordinal data. Whereas, if you're on the letter B, you know what came before B, you know what comes after B, right? So, but like a real number with decimals, would that be ordinal?
What do you think, Patty?
You lost me at ordinal. Sorry.
Well,
all right, Kurt, we need to rewind.
So like for instance, a real number is not going to be ordinal because you don't know the position. You don't know what comes before the number 2 and what comes after, because it just depends on what level of precision you want to work with in a decimal, right? So that would not be ordinal. Enumeration requires ordinal data to be working. An item that has enumerated items inside of it will have ordinal data within it. So like for instance, if you had an enumeration of days of week, you would know Wednesday, you would know Tuesday is before Wednesday. So an enumeration is a set of ordinal data is what that is. How's that for explaining it on the spot? And I had no, It's like he just, Kurt, explain
Kurt,
enumerated
you
data.
live and breathe this stuff.
So
I
if you understand
100%
sets,
faith in you.
you know ordinal data. We see ordinal data in PowerApps all the time. When you see like color dot, that's I'm sorry, that's enumerated data, which is also ordinal data, right? So if you're using a color, the color dot, I guess it's the color object, right?
Yeah.
The color dot light blue, color dot light green, that's enumerated data. We see that in different drop down boxes too. You see enumeration. I'm trying to think of one right now. I can't think of one. When
you guys think, and I'm looking at the chat, I'm looking to Patty, Amber, people in the private chat, everybody. Can you think of an example in PowerApps that's an enumerated set of values? And while Kurt sings the Jeopardy song, I'm going to bring up PowerApps app.
do 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 do.
Well, I do have a request here for you.
If you're getting anything helpful out of this, a comment or even a like really helps the channel and lets people like you know this is good content. Much appreciated.
All right, so I'm going to open something up, say blank screen application real quick. And and as you guys are thinking, I'm thinking as well, because it's one thing to give examples of all kinds of enumerated values, but hey, we're all PowerApps developers here, or we're people who are learning PowerApps. So this is a good topic to bring up. What is an enumerated?
One of the that comes to mind is if you go into the a text box and you look at the display property.
Really? Text
That's
box?
there's enumerated data types in there. You have edit, you have edit, disabled, and something else. That's an enumeration within PowerApps. And if you'll notice, you've got to type in the mode dot. I can't even talk this morning. The mode dot edit.
Yeah. Display mode dot edit. Display mode
display
dot
mode.
disabled. Yeah.
Yeah. When you have to type in that whole thing, that's when you know you're working with an enumerated data type. The font property is probably,
or is it display mode?
It's display mode. Display mode.
Okay.
There you go. See how you got to type display mode dot edit.
Yeah.
Display mode dot blah blah blah. That's how you know you're working with a data type.
So if you type a keyword and hit dot,
data type.
Oh, here's 3 values.
That's
a
an
perfect
enumeration. Yeah.
There you go. Now, what Kurt was revealing to you guys is something that maybe you would never learn anywhere else. Okay, because if we were writing an application in C#, there's an enum keyword that we would use.
Yeah. And
then we would list off all these possible values that we want to have, like drop downs like this in something. Okay. And there would be, let's say, disabled, edit, view. Disabled would have an ordinal or a numeric value in there of 0. Edit would be 1 and view would be 2. So Kurt's like, how in the movie The Matrix, Neo is in the real world or whatever, but then he was woke up and and the guy shows him all this code going down. Kurt's giving you the view underneath the scenes. Yeah. And it's actually great that he's bringing that aspect to this. I don't know that I would have brought that up because I wouldn't have thought to bring it up. But if you go learn C#, Java, C++, you have an enums in C++ and C.
Yeah. So if I could just add real quick, in your display mode, it's really got that disabled property up there is going to be 0. Display mode dot 0. And you might even be able to put in display mode 0. I don't know. And then you got display mode and edit would be 1. Try to put left parenthesis instead of the dot, say left parenthesis 0, right parenthesis.
Okay.
No,
like that.
Get rid of the dot.
Okay.
Nope. It's not going to let me have it. Okay. I sometimes it might. Anyway, so that would be 0. Your edit would be 1, and then the other one would be 2. So it starts at 0. In Pascal, it would be a set. So if, for those of you that have programmed in Pascal, when you're dealing with sets, you're dealing with enumerations. So
Look at where look at my cursor right here, Kurt, and everyone else. What does it say? Whenever you double click on or you select something, a value, it's going to give you information down here. Now, I did that to see the 3 values, and it doesn't show me, which I was surprised. But look what it says. Data type. It's not an array, which you might think it might be an array. But it's an enum, which is short for enumeration.
Which is a set.
It's a set. Now, what is a set?
Well, I think I explained that. So that's when you're dealing with ordinal. It's a group of ordinal data, right? It's very similar to an array. Here's the difference, though. This is what got me was mind-boggling when I was learning this stuff, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to bring to the accelerator students is a level of fundamentals that go underneath the scenes of PowerApps, right? And that's kind of what we're trying to do here in this moment when we're talking about this. So really, an array, is a pocket of memory where you have a list of items, and it starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can address each item in that array with its index number. An enumeration is very similar to an array, except for, now this is what's going to blow your mind, it only takes up 1 byte of memory. So it's all done. The enumeration is all done with bitwise operations, and that's why you can't just do this with
it almost sounds like, Kurt, I need visuals when somebody explains something to me. Maybe we can have maybe create a little video for us and show something, because I want to give this to people. This under the scenes, the matrix code, actually seeing how other people, let's say you're in the field as a PowerApps developer, and in 5 years from now, and you're talking I utilized an enumerated value, and I bet you 90%, maybe more, unless they come from a programmer background. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, 5 years ago, Darren, Kurt. It's been very well.
Well, you know what? That's a good point, Darren, because sometimes the people today, when they're in the industry, they're developing PowerApps, they're in Windows, they don't know what's going on underneath the scenes. You may not know, and that's kind of what I'm hoping that we do with the accelerator, is because you may never need to go underneath and create your own set or your own enumeration in another language. You may never do that. You may never use it, but it's really cool as a programmer, as a PowerApps programmer. It makes you so strong when you know what's going on underneath the scenes. You don't have to use it. I haven't created an enumeration in 20 years, but you know what? I know where it comes from. So it helps me to understand when I'm putting this code in here, why it's working the way it's working, right? So, and also how to code it so that it can make it faster. Because if you see your program's getting slow and sluggish, you can do little things like work with these enumerations to make things faster. Maybe that'll be a video someday. But anyway, it's important to know what's going on underneath the scenes, I think. Also, PowerApps may go away in 5 years, in 10 years. I doubt it, but it might. And when it does, if you guys understand the process of what's going on underneath the scenes, you'll be able to do this in any language. Darren listed about five languages that deals with and support enumerations. C#.
Even VB6 had it.
VB6 had it.
Now, a point that I want to make, I've been as you've been talking, Kurt, I still have this text box that has a display mode, right? So I brought a little label here, and what I did was I said text input .display mode, and it just says edit. I'm like, okay, that I was sort of expecting a numeric value there, but what I could do is I could say that text box right above there has a display mode, and it always has one of those 3 values. It can't be anything else but those 3 values.
That's right.
Okay?
That's a good point. It's part of the set.
Absolutely. So in any other language, I could get a Boolean value if I compared something that has an enumerated value. So an enumerated value set, it has like a word that's like human friendly, readable. And then there's a paired ordinal number, just as Kurt was explaining. Okay, I'm just saying it a different way here. And I was wondering, I've actually never done this in PowerApps. Okay, so textbox.display mode, does it equal 0? And look what that equal sign operator gave us.
It does.
What's on the right and the left side. It told us a false. Kurt, do you think we'll find a true value if I go up in order?
There you go. It's going to be.
Yeah, there's one. So we're still getting false.
It
What
should
about
be
2?
true. It should be true.
What about 3?
It should be true.
It should be true on one of them.
So
Absolutely.
So you know what? I've noticed that PowerApps has done recently. We used to, back when I first started working with PowerApps, we could say len equals 0 could be false, right? If the length is 0, that's false. You can't do that now. So they've actually set up a true Boolean check where it's either true or false. You got to actually do true or false, I think. And maybe there's a constant for it, like maybe -2 or something.
Yeah. So I brought another label over here, and what I did was, okay, so this thing over here, just display mode, is giving me text. But what if I say display mode, and I wrap the value, which typically would take like a string value and turn it into a number? So I tried that. It doesn't like that.
Nope.
So I'm just sort of showing you where the edges are of how PowerApps implement something as opposed to somewhere else. Okay. So I said all of that to say this is something that Kurt and I do. We go down tangents, but we always bring it back to a central point. Okay. And that point is, if I bring up the Excel, so we got mandatory NA. Okay, there's 2. Optionals 3. Is that the only 3 values? We got blue, yellow, and red. Oh, look, there's the 4th one, SP. Now, what could SP stand for in this case? I'm hoping that our friend that posted this question in school is in chat here. I have no idea. But I don't know that we have to know what it is. I mean, with that lack of information, we'll just say SP. I don't know if that's, I mean, if I see SP, I think SharePoint, right?
It could be. That's a good point.
If you're gathering requirements, identify the enumerator value. First of all, what is that? Okay, so we've talked about what it is. In the word programming, an enum is short for enumerated type. Think of a special kind of variable that can have a limited set of values, which you define. Well, in the case of PowerApps, they have enumerated values. It's like having a menu with a specific option. You can't order something that's not on the menu. Wow, is that a pun?
What's a pun?
Huh?
No, I'm teasing. I said, what's a pun? I'm teasing.
I keep all my dad jokes in a base. That's a pun. Okay,
no, that's
so
bad.
Hey,
That's just bad. That's
Hey, Darren. Dave responded about the the spreadsheet.
all right.
Oh, he did.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Dave in the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kurt?
No, it was.
No.
It was.
YouTube.
Okay. So Dave says used to drop down of the filter to look at all of the options. That's actually a good way of another way of saying it. That's good. That's useful.
Thanks, Patty. I'm catching up. I thought we were talking about something else.
Oh.
Several something else's.
Several something else's. Keep up, everybody. Keep up.
For example, if you're programming a weather app, you might have an enum for weather conditions like this: sunny, cloudy, rainy, snowy.
That's a set.
That's right.
That's a set. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. The weather condition variable can only take one of these 4 values. This makes your code more organized and easier to understand, as it limits the choices to a specific list, reducing the chance for errors. Now, where does this come into play in a spreadsheet? Okay, or in an application? Okay, so where do you use an enumerated value? So we're going to we defined what, 2 or 3 entities so far. Each one of these entities will have properties attached, or fields, or columns within that database table, within that entity. And in a certain column, a column will have a particular data type. Okay. Now in Excel, you could just type anything. You start typing numbers. It could be currency. It could be a word. It could be an image. I mean, Excel is like really flexible for anything, right? But in a database, when you have a data point that you need to track for, let's say, a customer or a sales database table or whatever, you've got fields in there, and those fields have types. It could be a single line of text. It could be a number, or it could be an enumerated value. Okay. So what a lot of people do is they'll just make a single line of text, and they would have the text either mandatory, NA, SP, optional, and that text would just be repeated for whatever row is attached to that value. But it's sort of a better way, I guess. A choice field is an enumerated value that you define in SharePoint. Let's go over to Dataverse. They have a data type called choices as well. Okay. And you can find, in fact, when you try to create a Boolean type of value, Dataverse is like, let's create that as a list, as a enumerated value. And you'll see yes, no. And also, if you look at it, it actually gives you a number value. Has anybody seen that? It's sort of cool. I'm going to show you guys this real quick.
Yeah, I really wish they would just call it an enumeration, instead of choices, so that way we know we know what we're working with,
Yeah, I feel like what their intention is they're trying to take something as robust and scalable as SQL Server, which it actually is. Okay, every database you create, well, I guess every time you create a Dataverse database inside of environment, which there's a one-to-one relationship there. There is a SQL Server database out in cloud storage. So you can actually connect to it with SQL Server Management Studio. The only catch is it will always be read-only if you're connecting to it that way.
So the other thing I'd like to just jump in here with, when you were talking about your typings, earlier Darren was talking about when you're dealing with database fields, you're dealing with types. And then he was talking about Excel, you can just put any old kind of data in there. That's called soft typing. When you're dealing with soft typing, like in Excel, they take on any kind of thing that you just throw in there. And it's really nice to be able to go in there. If number one, if you don't really know anything about anything, you can just put numbers in there and you can get something started. And if you don't want to know anything about anything, that's good. But also it's good for speed. If you want to just hurry up and get something done really quickly. The problem is with soft typing is you're almost always going to catch yourself in a problem. There's always going to be some kind of a problem with soft typing. That's why programmers really want things to be hard typed. That back in the old days, that's one of the problems I have with Java was it was too soft typed. But Java's kind of come around a lot now, and it's become more of a hard type language. So the more hard typed you got, the more work you have to do, because you have to define. You got to do these things like Darren's doing right now. He's defining these data types. But that's gonna be so important for data validation. You got to make sure the data is going to be, the integrity of your data is going to be strong, and it also helps you to be able to make what you're comparing. If you're a programmer and you're trying to say, okay, I want this first name over here to be character. Now, if they were just putting anything in there and somebody just put a number in there and you're trying to add this number to it, you could get yourself in trouble with that. So it's really important as a programmer to know what data types you're working with, so that you can do comparisons. And that's why, I really, you can't talk enough about data types and typing, because there's just so much to it and it's so important.
Yeah, I would love somebody to give an example of how the loose or as Kurt put it, the soft typing inside of Excel has sort of bit you in the behind. That's been a pain in your rear side.
Dates have really been a problem. It's really hard when you're dealing with dates, soft typing.
But okay, so you created an Excel spreadsheet and you got people filling out information, collaborating. It's almost like a database, right? That's what people do with their spreadsheets. Yep. And then you mean for the data to always go in a certain way. Let's say it's a customer or a student's name. Maybe it's a full name, okay? And there are some data entry people that'll just hit caps lock and just and everything's in caps lock. You know, you got to report, and then every 10 rows or so, you see these all caps. It's like, what is going on here? Why is this different than everybody else? It causes confusion. It's, you know, that's why you need an app. Because in an app, you could use the proper function. Yeah. And there's other things you can do. So if you have a user filling out a row within your spreadsheet, which is a record or could be a record in a database, what happens if they only filled out the first 2 columns and then they close the spreadsheet? And then, well, maybe you actually need their unique identifier in there to even be considered a record in there. You can't, it's just very hard to implement business rules. Now, there might be somebody, just an absolute whiz with Excel that could pull that off somehow.
Sure.
I don't know enough about Excel to do that, but there are really advanced things that you can do. So I'm not saying that's just impossible or anything.
Right,
Okay.
Darren, you could work with soft typing if you're really good at and real strict within what you're doing. But it allows for mistakes to happen that really don't need to be there. Yeah. Yeah.
So here I went to this database table. I created a column, their status, and I went down to choice. Now you notice here we've got, hopefully this is big enough, guys. Let me try to zoom in a little more to make this bigger. Here, there we go. Okay, so single line of text. Let's scroll this down a little bit here. Okay, do you notice that we have no yes, no, or Boolean unless we go to choice? Okay, so our 2 choices is are choice and yes, no. Now, if I create this as a yes, no, what happens? It creates a choice, no and yes. Look at what is right beside it, Kurt. Value. Oh, there's a 0 and there's a 1, and they're not going to allow me to edit it.
So
The enumerated values typically start with 0 and just go down the line in the order that you list them, and you don't have control. Actually, I think you might have control over it in other languages, but typically it's a 0-based set ordinal position. Okay, and here is sort of forcing you into that. So I can set the default choice. I don't like how you get the value out of a type of field in Dataverse. What I'll do is I'll set up as a single line of text and try to just make it like 1 character. Capital Y is true. Capital N is false. You know, yes, no, true, false.
And Patty, that's what I was explaining to you yesterday when we were talking about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to do moving forward. I'm going to use, if I have to, well, I'm only using SharePoint, but that's what I'm going to use moving forward with my choice columns.
Yep.
Very good. That's good to hear.
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm going to hit choice and show you what else we get here. Okay, choice, simple, say optional, okay. And then we go down here, sync this choice with, okay. Okay, so these are the choices that have been set up in this Dataverse database, okay. So I don't like creating choice fields in a database. I like creating enumerated values either as a separate database table or just throw them into the app as a little collection for all the drop downs of the application. Because we might have a quiz, questionnaire, poll type of app that we're building, and every question could be answered with a yes, no, or a blank, which means I don't want to answer. Or you could throw in another value of NA, non-applicable. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so here, let's say my new choice. Okay, and here we could say option 1, new choice. Now it's given it some big values here. Look at that. Isn't that weird, Kurt?
It is. Should have started at 0.
What I think is going on, if you look at this, it gave me the option to synchronize it with all the other global enumerated value. Yeah. They don't call it enums in Dataverse; they call them choices.
Choices.
So I think that all the integer values for each of these, there's only, it like creates its own little set. So if you combined all the sets into one database, that number would probably be unique. That's my guess. I don't know why they would have had 155,440,000 start, boom, the zero there, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
So let me get to the comments here real quick. Okay, you
All
just
right.
did. Thank you.
yeah.
I wanted to address that.
Yeah. Welcome, Jeff. Should a collection set or table always have a value assigned to it?
Okay. So the first thing I want to say is that they're not the same things.
Yeah.
Okay. None of those three things are the same. They're not related. A set or enumeration is completely different than a collection. Darren spoke about that for a minute, just a little bit ago, when he talked about he doesn't like to do these things in a database, in the design mode of the data tables. He likes to do it in his code, because what you can do is you can do a simulated set by using an array, and that's kind of what a collection is dealing with. You can actually put values into an array, and it will simulate a set or an enumeration, but it's not a true enumeration like the display mode that we saw. Right? It's an array that, like for instance, if you were to have a list of drop down items, you would put those into some kind of a collection or an array, and then that simulates an enumeration, right? And that's what he was talking about. So everyone should have a value. Your items in a collection, and in your items in a collection, you're going to have your first row is going to be 0. You know, you're going to have your first, those rows are going to have items, but you don't necessarily have to have values inside of those rows, if that makes sense. You know, so when you create a row in a table, or you create a row in a collection, that row the row number is a value, but you don't have to, they can be blank. So, but in an enumeration, they always have to have data in it. You have to have like a name and a number. I don't know, Darren, what do you think about that?
I don't know, Jeff. Did you feel like you got the answer that you needed from that, or did we break that down and explain it well?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know?
Hopefully it does.
Okay, so how I read his question: you've got a database table, and one of your fields you set up as my what did I call that? Status or something? I forgot what I had there. What did I call it? Let me get the example here. Their status. That's what I called it. Okay, so we got that. Let me go. And I see that you said that you got it, which is good. But I always like to explain things just in case there's some other people that maybe didn't. They saw your question, like, that's a good question. I need to know that. You know, the new thing here, and I'm looking. Oh, there it is. Okay, move this all the way over, and look, so this is the new column. So I click in here. What happens? Oh, there's option 1. There's option 2. And these others, let's say I didn't even answer that. Okay, so according to your question, this is how I read it. Should a collection set table always have a value assigned to it? Okay, so a collection and a table. So a collection is like an in-memory table, right? But if we're talking about a database table here, we do have a database table here on the screen, right? And then we have a column called their status, which is an enumerated value or a choice. Okay. Now, you said, should it always have a value assigned to it? If you create a choice or an enumeration, it will automatically have some numeric value associated with it. Okay. But how you phrase the question, I'm thinking, should we make this required? You don't have to. But if you wanted to, you could go up. Let me zoom back out a little bit here. Go back into columns. And you guys might have seen an option here, okay? An option to make it required. So that really depends upon your business rules, your requirements. Let's say you've got a field there for state. You know, in the United States, there's 50 states, and they talk about adding states or removing states. I've heard of that, but in my whole life, there's always been 50 states, so in my mind, it's never going to change. So an enumerated value that's hard coded in your code or in choices is pretty much set, like in concrete set, like it can't be changed. I mean, a programmer have to come in and add another value or take something out. But let's say an app admin, they might want to add some values. Well, you wouldn't want that to be an enumerated value. You know what I mean? So I hope that my addition there makes sense. So Jeff says, should my option 1 equals 1 not necessarily required field? It probably stores it in the database as a 1 or a 2. But as we just saw over here, trying to use these labels to see if we can sort of play around with an enumerated value as if it was a number, and PowerApps doesn't like it. PowerApps really wasn't made for geeky coders, but maybe they might add it later on for us geeky coders that like that type of stuff,
If you were going to be a purist, my option should equal 0. My option 1 should equal 0. And then my option 2 would be 1. If you were going to be a purist.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the Excel spreadsheet. So what I want to do is create an enumerated value, and I don't use choice columns. If I'm going to put it in the database, it's going to be a separate table. Okay, so what I'm going to say is maybe course requirement. Okay, so up here, I might go up here and say program course require, and inside we have got, I see all of them here. Okay, and mandatory, we've got optional, we've got N-A, and then we also have the purple one in there, and I don't see, oh yeah, SP. Okay, and those are the only 4 that I see here. Okay, now if those 4 never change, why create a database table? I create a database table to make it really flexible, data driven. You know what I mean? If an app admin wants to change another item, but somebody is telling me about a program and the requirements, and they're like, listen, the course requirement are these 4 values. It will never be anything else but these 4 values. Okay, I'm not even going to mess with the database. I'm just going to put it right inside the code. So if I bring my other window up here, okay, and I've got a button here. Well, I could create what I want to do. You probably want to put this in the app on start, but you know what? Actually, something better. Kurt, let's utilize a new feature of PowerApps called, it would be perfect for this. Okay, we'll go to formulas. Has anybody played around with formulas yet? This is really cool, especially if you come from a coder background. You're like, yes. And you want to start all your values. You're like defining values almost like constants. If you've ever used constants in a programming language, this is great for that. So I'm going to start every named formula here with FX because we're using the FX language. Okay, and I've seen that as that's what people are using for this, even though Microsoft hasn't come forward and say, hey, this is the best practice. Okay, so I'm going to say FX course requirement. Okay, and then I'm going to say equals, if I'm not mistaken here. And then what I'm going to say is, let's just use the table function. Okay, we'll use the table function. And what we'll do here is I'm going to indent this over a little bit. I'm going to put a semicolon at the end. And what do you think when you see curly braces in PowerApps? So Patty or Kurt or anybody in the chat, what does that mean to you? If you see a curly brace, is that a dead giveaway for anything?
It's a rule.
For a record, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So always think about when you see these curly braces, you're probably defining or referencing a record. So when you do an update context, every screen has one record with all the local variables in there, and then they got values. It's a one record table there. So just thought I'd mention that. Yeah, Nick says it's a record. Absolutely. Okay.
You guys better know about those curly braces.
So I would probably say name for the enumerated value. What do we have for a name here? Okay, so I'm going to go back over to my notes. If I can find them. Click on that. Oh, there they all are. Okay, so I'm going to go down here. Here's like that. So I'll say, okay, mandatory. Kurt, do you want this enumerated value to be 0 based or 1 based?
Whatever you want. I guess if it was me, it'd be 0.
Yeah. I always try to stay consistent in the environment that I'm in, and because PowerApps is sort of like the old VB days, they try to dumb it down for us mere mortals, I guess. I'm going to use 1. Now, if I was doing this in C# or C++, I'd probably do a 0.
Right. So what you're talking about, that they create the bound in an array, they create the binding as 1. I do notice that they do their enumeration as 0. You know,
who does enumerations as 0?
PowerApps does.
Really?
Well, yeah. If you looked at display mode the display mode and it started at 0, right?
Okay, then I'm going to keep up with that. Yeah, so my aim is always to stay consistent with whatever I'm working with here. So if I picked up this program from somebody else and they had 15 enumerated values and they all started with 1 or they all started with 0 or something, I would just try to keep it consistent. As one boss told me, Darren, you're trying to do something great here, but really good is better than best, if that makes any sense to you guys.
And
at first it didn't make any sense.
Because either way, you're right, Darren, because you're not really dealing with a true enumeration when you're dealing with the table. So you could be right with the 1. However, the principle you're trying to work with is somebody comes in behind you, a programmer comes behind you after you win the lottery and you never do this anymore. They're going to say, well, he's trying to create an enumeration, but it started at 1. So they would think 0, maybe automatically. So either way, you're right. So you got to kind of think that way a little bit.
Okay, so this should be a 2 and this should be a 3. Okay. Now let me show you the beauty of a named formula. Okay, so here we go. It's all done. Hopefully you guys can see all the code here. That's how I would do an enumerated value. Okay. And so now I don't have to run app on start. I don't have to click a button to create it. What I can do is drop over a drop-down list, which is typically where enumerated values end up.
Yeah.
Could you guys see that? For example, this little drop-down has display mode, and look, the choices are in a drop-down. What else is okay? What about font weight? That's an enumerated value. It's a drop-down. So do you have a drop-down? Look, oh, I need a choice field here. No, you need an enumerated set of values. And I just showed you how I would do that. Okay. Oh, look at this. This works just as if it came from a data source. Isn't that cool? Well, guess what? Let's say I have another. Darren, I don't need the names. Just give me the numbers. The people that use this application like the numbers. Okay, there you go. Okay.
Nice.
Now, what's funny about a drop-down list? The default value for default is always 1. I probably would have made that 0. So that's why 1. Were you about to say something, Kurt?
No, I just said that's nice. I like the way you did that. I was actually thinking when you were doing this, I was thinking I would have set that up in a context variable, except for that you can't do a context variable in the onStart. But then that's I don't know if that would work either, because you really want to display the context variable is going to do the records, which would be going sideways, and you're wanting to go down. So I think you were right doing that.
If you wanted some enumerated values and only used on one screen, I might be tempted to put that in the on visible of the screen. But what I've noticed when I build an app, 5 screens later, I'm like, oh, I need that collection on this screen too,
That's right.
which you could just copy the same code and put it there.
No,
But,
all that should be defined in the on start, I think.
Well,
Absolutely.
I would normally agree with you, but based on what Microsoft has said, well, let's click on app here. Okay. About maybe a year and a half ago, you had on start, and you would do everything in on start, initialize variables and everything. You even navigate to whatever screen you wanted it to go to. And then they created start screen. And then they made the rule, you cannot have a navigate. You cannot use the navigate function in app on start. A lot of people's apps broke, and it's like they gave you a grace period of like two or 3 months. And they're like, oh, now you try to open it. Now it doesn't work. So little by little, what they're trying to do is make this more efficient, because what they found was when you create a PowerApps and you're running it in the Teams, the database, the Dataverse for Teams environment, is that those apps would take a long time to load up. And it was because everybody's putting everything in the on start, and it wouldn't start the app until all the code is run. So now they're trying to say, hey, don't put any dependencies or anything in on start, because it seems like they want to take that away a little bit. Okay. And they created this name formulas for creating value. So they got the start screen, so you can't use navigate and on start. And for all I know, they're going to take away the ability to make collections. I hope they don't take away that ability, but they're wanting this formulas to be used. So anyway, okay, so we've got that. Let's go back to our spreadsheet real quick here, guys. And Nick says, Kurt looks great. Oh, functions look great.
Whatever. You mean when he said functions look great, you mean the formulas, the name formulas look great? Is that what you're talking about, Nick? Functions look great too.
We may never know unless he tells us.
We may never know.
Guys, it looks like that's the extent of the application, to be honest. We have courses, we have job roles, and we have these enumerated values. Okay. So let's go back to our requirements that we've been building here. Okay, so we got a program, course, job role. Now, what is perhaps like a given, like an unspoken, something that is really obvious, but isn't really spelled out in the spreadsheet? You guys remember my checklist inspection app? And this guy came to me with it's one of my more popular videos, the checklist inspection app. If you search for that in Darren Neese, it'll come right up. He says, I got this one screen Excel spreadsheet. It'll probably just be a one screen PowerApps app, right? And it ended up being like, I think, 19 screens, because there's all kinds of things that he didn't realize. We're tracking users, customers, we're tracking jobs, job types. We have the questions, and then the answers, and then we had all kinds of stuff. We had many-to-many relationships in there. And then we had app admin screens. There was all kinds of stuff he didn't realize he really needed. So that's why, as Kurt would say, you need to be the adult in the room and say, listen, this isn't perhaps what you think it is, because there's a lot of other things. As you build an app, you need to build things in a way that you got to really think ahead for the customer, So, if you hire a lawyer or a doctor, you need a surgeon. Are you going to tell them like, hey, this should just be a 5-minute procedure, right? So we need to do some tests here and find out what's going on with you. That's sort of what you're like. You're sort of like a business doctor. You're coming in and you're providing order out of their chaos. Is how I like to phrase that. Okay.
Right. So let's go look at the data again. After you just said that, let's go look at the data.
Yeah, let's look at absolutely. So here's the spreadsheet, and I can zoom out. Okay, so there's not really. That's pretty much it. There's just a lot.
So what we're saying is we've got two things. We got courses, and what's the other thing we've got?
We got courses, then we got job positions.
Okay, now, right there, we got courses and we've got job positions, and we've got enumerated values within all of those. Yeah. Some of those enumerated values that might be they may never change. but can any of those enumerated values be added to at some point? That would be a question. The other thing is, if any of those could, like yes, no, probably if it's going to be yes or no, those enumerations probably won't change ever. But if it's a list of things like that could change, those things could change. Maybe we need to be careful how we store that. Also, we could have courses, one course could have many, what do you call them, positions?
Absolutely.
And one position could have many courses, right?
Yeah.
So probably we have a many-to-many relationship going on here too, right? Also, we need to be able to define that so that those courses could change, and we could add to the change courses, which means we need CRUD, and we need CRUD.
What's CRUD?
It's just a bunch of junk. CRUD. It's CRUD. It's all CRUD, Darren. Patty, what does CRUD stand for? Go put Patty on the spot.
On the spot.
She's never going to get on again.
No, I'm not. It's create, read, undo, and delete, I think.
Oh, almost.
Almost. Create, read, delete.
The E word.
It's the U word.
When you change something, what do you do to it?
Edit.
Update.
Update. There we go.
I always got messed up on the U too when I was figuring it out.
Oh, as Kurt said once 20 years ago, guys, if you can read a record and write a record, you could work beside me doing what I do. I'm like, oh, I can do this. Even though I thought he was flunking me.
That's really all it is. It's everything. So you need CRUD screens for the course. You need CRUD screens for the positions. And then we need a many-to-many relationship in there. So we got 3 tables at least. And then if you've got any of those enumerations need to change, we need to be having tables for that too. I don't know. What do you think about all that, Darren?
I think that I want to finish up this app in 1 hour from now.
Let's go.
So let's go on the side of simplicity. And then if the gentleman or lady that posted in the forum said, no, we need to keep track of users who have one of these positions. Usually when you get a job, you have a title or a position, right? There could be 5 people that have that same position, manager or PowerApps developer. What I saw maybe where this was going is you need a database table for all your users or your staff.
Yeah.
And then each of those people would have a role. Okay. So there'd be a one-to-many relationship, the one side being the role and the employees being the many side. What about keeping track of all the training that they have had, whether it was required or not? If they've done those things.
That's right.
And then we have another screen and says, hey, for this person, and the app would know, has the data, has the access to what training they have. What are all the different roles they could get an advancement or a transfer into that they might be interested in? Oh my goodness, I can think of all kinds of stuff from this spreadsheet.
Okay, we're not getting this done in an hour.
Okay, you gotta keep me on course here. All right, so we're gonna say,
but you're right about all that, Darren. I didn't even think about some of that. Yeah.
Course requirements. Create the data, and we're gonna use SQL Server because it's the most Microsoft out of these 3. I'll make this public and you guys could check out this diagram. Okay. All right. So let's talk about our entities. New table. This new table is going to be called either course or requirements. I'm just going to say course. Okay. And
Patty says training certificates.
Course, we have job role. Okay. We also need, let's go back to our notes here. So program course, a job role, and a course requirement, which is an enumerated value. Now, if the client told me, oh yeah, we could be adding these different requirements, but just looking at this, it's either mandatory or it's optional, it doesn't apply, or I have no idea what SP is, but I would probably think those wouldn't change. If there's any possibility that may change in the future, make it its own database table. Okay. So these are the 2 things, the program and the job role. Okay. Now let's say Ooh. Okay. So this is a many-to-many relationship. One course could apply to several roles, and one role, job role, could have several course requirements. So what we have is a many-to-many table in the middle, more than likely here. Okay. So I'm going to go into table 3 and I'm going to call it this. And I'm going to say job role course. Okay. So it has an ID inside the job role. We would want to have, okay, there we go, add column. And we're going to say, actually over here in this table, add role, a row here, or I'm sorry, column. And this is going to be job role ID. Okay. And then I'm also going to create one for course ID. Now, we do have a lot of videos, guys, about relationships, one-to-many, many-to-many. We've gone over it a lot in a lot of other videos. So if you're watching this on demand, or even you guys are in the chat, if you want the list of those videos, let me know in a comment below, and then late after the live stream at some point, I'll go in and reply and give you links to them, okay? Or I just will go back in the video description and add them there, okay? So we have a job role ID. Okay, so I'm gonna click on this dot and say, boom, that goes to this ID, okay? Say many to one. And then for course ID, I'm gonna drag this dot to this field, and I'm gonna say many to one. Okay. And that is how you create a many-to-many relationship between this table and this table, by putting that mapping table in the middle. Okay. Right. I'm tempted here, because if you look at job role and a course, if you look at a combination of those two, in the middle, a mapping table, we could put if it was required or not. Okay. We could do that. All right. So if we were going to do this, let's go ahead and add this as a string, okay? And we'll call required, or other requirement. I like that. Okay. Now I'm not messing with data types in here. These are SQL Server data types. Okay. Let's start off. Let's go back to this guy here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this. I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to share a link to this so you guys can sort of see. If you want to bring this up on a different monitor, there's my shareable link. Here it is in the chat. Okay, very good. All right. So you guys can see this while I'm working in Excel. Okay. Now, what I'm going to try to do, I'm going to say, listen, if you're watching this video, chances are you're an Excel expert. You do all this cool stuff in Excel, and you've realized, hey, Excel just isn't kind of, I want to do this a better way that maybe my IT department would like, other than just all these Excel spreadsheets all over the place. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little sheet at the bottom, and I'm going to call this courses. Okay. There's courses. What else we got here? We have, oops, didn't put it there. Hopefully you guys can see this. Let me zoom in if I can. It doesn't make this any larger, unfortunately. Okay, so we have courses. We're going to rename this sheet 3 to be job roles. Okay. And hi, Daniel. So we got courses, we got job roles. And then we've got this mapping table in the middle. Okay, and we'll call that exactly what we have up here. So we have courses, job roles. And here, this will be called, as we did in our ERD diagram, job role courses. Okay, there we go. I love this example spreadsheet because there's not much to it. If you look at this on the sheet 1, how many data points do we have for a course? Right now, we only have the name and if it's orange or green. Okay. All right. So what I'm saying is, actually, it's all in the spreadsheet here. So of course, we are going to have a table here. So we're going to say the name of the course. And then I'm going to say course type. And for now, because I don't have all the requirements, I'm probably going to have that as a string for now and just say like orange or green until the client tells me something different. Okay. So we got that. Is there anything else we need to keep track of for courses? That's the only 2 things. Okay. So now we've got, we need to do the same thing for, I keep minimizing and think it's somewhere else, but it's all here in Excel. And we might want to add a column here, insert, and we'll call this, you know what? I don't know that I want to add any type of ID. Because I'm wanting to put this over in SharePoint. And if I name it ID, SharePoint's going to create another ID and all that jazz. So I'm not going to do anything there. I'll let SharePoint do that or any other database system I throw it into. For job roles, I'm going to say name, description. Okay. Go back here. What do we have? I see sometimes it says general workers site. And that would be fine. I'm just looking for, is there any other type of information we need to track there? I don't think so. So have name and description, okay, for job roles. And over here, what we would do is we could say course name. Over here, we could say job role name, okay. And for right now, because we don't have IDs and everything, I'm just probably going to leave it as that. And then we might want to say here, what I call the requirement. Yeah, we got job role ID, course ID, and then we have requirement. Come on. Requirement. Okay, very good. So I'm going to start over here. Because now, if you're wanting to read this as a database, you need to select all the data. Let me see if I can copy all this. Okay. Hopefully so. Name of the course. Boom. All right. And somebody know how to size this down all at once? I don't know. See, I'm not an Excel expert. I'm going to try to select all these and double click on this line. No, it wouldn't do it for all. It doesn't matter. And then over here, I'm going to say orange. Okay. Copy that and paste it. There. I'm going to drag that down. Okay. Oh, Control A, Tony A says. I think it's being slow here. Okay. A little boring, isn't it? Kurt's joke. Or Patty. Or somebody in the comments. Are you muted, Kurt? I don't hear you. You're just gonna let me flap out in the wind here, huh?
I just don't know what to say about that.
I think you can select.
Got lots
go ahead, Kurt.
No, you go
I was
ahead.
going to say, I think you can, when you select all of your rows in that one column, and then right mouse click and see if it has row height. And if it does, then you can adjust it all right like that.
Oh, okay. I'll try that here in a second. I need the green value here.
So yeah, Penny, since it's nice and quiet right now, you had asked a question in your chat. When I need a choice column in an app, should I make the column single text and use functions for the items? So
Just like Darren did with that table, and then use that FX in my app for the column for that choice column.
You could do it that way. You know, one of the things I like to do is I like to go into like I think I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
You're saying you use it for you want to limit your choices for what things can go into a field, right?
Yes.
In your table. One of the tricks I like to use is I like to use a distinct function on that, because that way, and it just depends. Like if you have something that could grow in the future, then you would have a listing of everything. You would go down with the distinct. It would give you one item for each item that's in that field. But then maybe it could change in the future. Somebody could add something different to it. You know, like for instance, maybe you have like you're dealing with an expense report, and you have typical places where your company goes to get supplies. But maybe it could go to a different place someday. Well, so it could add to that somehow,
Right.
you know, and so you have a self-growing type list right there. If it's never going to change, I think that doing that in that, like Darren did there, is perfect.
Okay.
I think that's a really slick way of doing it, actually.
Okay.
You know,
Great. Yeah, I thought that was. I love the new FX. The formulas; those are so cool.
Yeah.
It's gonna make things so much easier, I think.
Right, but I guess I just want to throw a warning out there that says if something changes and you do it that way, you're going to have to revisit that program sometime.
Right, you'll have to add
You
you'll have to add it back to that table. Right.
Yep, you have to go in there and change it because you're basically creating a constant of all the items that are in there.
Okay.
How do I change the direction which the text shows up?
I think it's on the ribbon, and it should have a text up there, direction or something.
Okay, I might check that out here in a sec. Okay, so I pasted over in Notepad++, and I got some good values. Okay, so that's one way to do it. What were you saying, Patty? I go up to the ribbon and go where?
There should be a text function up there somewhere that gives you
paste special transpose.
Okay, that's a new one.
Ooh.
Oh.
Special right mouse click. So I have them all selected. I say right mouse click, copy, paste transpose. Is there a paste up here? Where's the paste at? Now I know this thing comes up. Okay, formulas. In interest of not keeping this super boring, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these, and I'm going to delete. Now I pasted over Notepad++. Okay, so I'm going to paste here, and I'm going to say cut, paste. Now there's going to be some expert. Maybe you guys in the comments they're like, "Oh, Darren, that's so easy. You should have done it." And yeah, I don't. There's a lot about Excel I don't know.
Okay, I think I found it.
Yeah.
It's on the ribbon under alignment, and then there's that little AB. There's a little AB.
And then alignment. The alignment up here. Do you see it?
It's on the ribbon, not on the menu, but on the ribbon.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's alignment. Okay.
Yes.
And Am I not seeing something here?
I see a little AB on the actual ribbon. Do you see an
Yeah.
AB? Yes. Okay.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Clockwise. Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh, geez.
I think for now, I think we could figure it out. I just sort of want to power through this just really quick because I don't think
Okay.
there's that many roles. Delete. We get this app done in 30 minutes. Can we do it? I'm gonna warn you guys right now. I might use a form to save time. Okay, don't judge me. Don't judge me, guys. I normally don't use forms.
No,
Sorry.
Oh, I'm going to be rude. I'm going to eat. I got breakfast coming. I'm going to be rude and eat
Did
something.
you bring
here in
enough
front
for
of you guys.
everybody here, Kurt?
Nope.
Okay, so something that I didn't really talk.
I will say free smells.
Something I didn't explain on the other one while you guys were talking was that if you want to access this data source in your app, you really need to format it as a table. Pick the style that you like. I don't think whatever style you pick is all that important there. And it's just confirming, okay, this is the range that you want to make the table. Okay, and I say, hey, make the table. My table has headers, yes. Okay, so put that there. Now the question is, it sort of did it here as well. So I'm hoping that I remember checking that off before. All right, so we have that. Now something I noticed, Kurt, is there's spaces in here that we'll need to get rid of. I do that very easily in PowerApps. Okay. Then we have this job role courses. Okay. So we might have, I'm just gonna add one row. I'll go here. I'm gonna grab this text. This is our mapping table. Here's the course name. I just want plain text. Oh, there's transpose. Formulas. I just want text.
I'm still here.
Are you? Your screen says be right back.
Well, I just don't want you guys seeing me chopping away here.
You need to have another one that says eating. Here, but job role name. Okay, we'll say site format. The requirement. Site supervisor. Site supervisors right here, and it's mandatory. It's no copy mandatory. Okay, set as regular text. My pointer's so big I can't even read the tooltip on here. Okay, what I do is I paste things in a Notepad++. How I get them to work. Delete, paste. It still wants to make it like that. I'm hoping the formatting just won't matter. So I'm going to select all three of these. I'm going to format this as a table. And something else you want to do is when you create a table like this, you want to go to the top and it says table 4. No, you want to give it a more meaningful name. Job role courses. Okay, enter. I did it for the first one. I'm not sure if I did job role, so I'll go in here. It says table 3, so I did not do it. So I'm going to rename this as job roles. Okay, data is king. Good morning. I don't know if you're trying to convert this data from AB spreadsheet into a SharePoint list. If you can do this in Excel after converting into Excel tables, yes, that's where I'm going. Yeah, because when you try to import data into SharePoint from SharePoint and say, hey, look at this, it messes up all the column names. So that's actually what I'm trying to do. So data is king, stay on. If you're familiar with that, I haven't done that a lot. I just learned about it probably just like a couple of weeks ago. And so the importing is easier that way. Okay. So we have these tables. Okay. And what I'm going to do is, you know what? Is this already a table? I'm going to go look at table design and it's called table 1. Okay. I'm going to call this raw data just in case. Okay. And then what I want to do is I don't like things like sheet 1, sheet 2, or button 1, button 2. I'm going to rename this to be raw data. So I've got good names here at the bottom, although you probably can't see unless you break out a magnifying glass, right? And I'm going to go over to data, and I'm going to look for something that has to do with SharePoint. Okay, so data is king, if you know, or I think Nick, you and I were talking about this in the school community. If you remember, let me know. But so I want to export this data types. I want to say this. Okay, that's Accelerator School. Here is Learn Power Apps. Okay, I'm going to say import. Okay, and it is table design tab. Okay, very good.
All right then.
Export. Oh yeah, thank you. Export table to SharePoint list. Okay, well, do we have a SharePoint list? Well, let's see here if I do have one or not. Okay, so I'll go here and I'll go over to SharePoint and let's use Darren Neese here. Okay, so this is the SharePoint site that I already have set up for my stuff. And I'm going to go back over here and we're in table design. And we went to export, and I'm going to say export table to SharePoint list. And let's see how well it does it. So I just pasted that URL to my SharePoint list, create a read-only connection to the SharePoint list. No, I just want to import it. A name and description of the table. Sure. Let's call this raw data. Next. Okay, here we go. Column data type. Oh, this is this one. Yeah, I really don't care. Text is fine for this one. We're really not going to use it very much, if at all, in the PowerApps application. So we got that. It says it was successfully published. What it did for us. Okay. So the reason why somebody might not have had a good time once they imported this into SharePoint, how do you create an app around it, right? Because we didn't create our entities right. Now I am having some technical difficulties on my end. Kurt, do you still hear and see me?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, my restream window is going crazy. So as long as I'm okay, I'm just gonna go along with things here. So
I think you're good.
Okay, very good. Okay, so it's been published. Very good. So I'm going to go over what's sheet 5. Oh, it's that thing that we're playing around with. Okay, so I'm going to say delete. Okay. Wow. Okay. And then, so here's courses. Okay, so I'm going to go to table design, all courses, and I am going to export and export to a SharePoint list. Maybe it's still on the clipboard, and it is very good. And I'm going to call this course. I like to keep it singular for a database table name. In Dataverse, it will pluralize it for you. So I'm going to hit next. Let's see how it does. So the course name is text and the course type is text. And that is fine. This, and we'll see what that looks like. Now, I don't like Why did it call it name one? Name one. Like, really? Oh, man. What do you think of that, Kurt? Did they have to say, can I rename it? The problem is I could rename it,
Well,
but then there's a problem. SharePoint always will remember the original name.
yeah,
Okay.
and then you get that weird reference sometimes that you got to deal with it.
Yeah. So you see where it says name one? I didn't have that over in the. Why did it do that?
So what you could do is you could copy the data to the clipboard and then just delete that field and put name in there. Just sometimes you got to do that.
In the interest of time, I'm just going to leave it as name one. And if people just absolutely love what we cover today, we'll do follow-ups and we'll improve it. We'll do some cool things. Maybe put it in Dataverse, maybe put it in SQL Server, or add more tables and screens and all that type of stuff.
Right.
But I'm trying my hardest to keep this.
Well, what you did do today was you did a great live stream on enumeration and creating enumeration. We define that a lot. So that's one good accomplishment.
And then I'm going to go to. You got to click into the table to see the table design thing up here. All right. So now I'm going to say export. Very good. I'm going to paste that. Very good. The name of it is job role. I'm just going to, let's see what we got. Name description, that's text, that's fine. Okay, I'll click on the link here. Again, name one, which is fine. We could probably easily in SharePoint read from name one and just throw it in title and just use title, Yeah. All right. So our stuff, well, we need one more table here. And we're going to go to the table design and we're going to export this to SharePoint. There's that. And the name of this is job role courses. Next. And finish. Good. And let's see here. One little thing I needed to check on. Let's see. All right. So that's in there, table design. So let's go look at our SharePoint site. And let's go look at list settings. And we have there it is. So we have role courses, job role, and then courses. Okay, very good. So we've got those three things. Chew. We're getting there, guys. We're getting all right. So now enter PowerApps. Guys, we're gonna knock this one out of the park. All right, so let's bring up our PowerApps. Okay. Over here. Okay. I am going to save this as enum demo. Just in case somebody wants this app, I'll save it here. Okay. I'm going to go back. I got this idea, Kurt. Are you ready for my idea? I am going to start with data. And I'm going to say external data. I'm going to say SharePoint. Okay. Here's the link to my SharePoint site. Select a list. I can only pick one of these. So what I'm going to do is say courses. Did I just call it course? Yeah. Um, I don't like the new way it generates apps. Maybe I should like it because it's got more of a responsive design, and I think it's what it's doing. That's fine. I'm going to roll with it. Newer's better, right? Isn't that
That's
always
right.
true, Kurt? Anything new in technology is better than before, right?
Yes.
All right, so we've got that.
He paid me. He paid me to say that.
I'm going to add in the other data sources here.
And of course, everything Microsoft is best too, especially Teams.
Yeah. Oh, you like Teams, don't you?
Hey, me and Teams, we've built a relationship. It started off very rocky, but it's we're understanding each other. We've learned that conflict is always the way to build relationships. Resolving conflict.
Oh, resolving conflict, not having.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you're always gonna have conflict in a well, you don't always have to be, but in a long-term relationship, sometimes that skill that is a good life lesson, right?
If it's going to be much of anything, you're going to have conflict. That's right.
All right, so here we got course. Okay, well, what I want now is I want a new screen. Let's see if any of this interests us. Maybe even going over to templates. Okay, what do we have here? Is it going to give? I don't think it's going to give us these responsive things here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to duplicate this screen. Okay.
I don't know, but
Data is King figured it out for you. You have to have extreme patience with Teams, and then it will.
You're right. You're right. You know what? God has taught me patience through Teams. And I'm also learning how to deal with jealousy because it seems like Patty's chair is at least 4 feet wide from here. It looks like that thing is just huge. I am.
It's a rocking chair.
That looks like an amazing chair.
I got
with my Elvis jacket on the back.
Oh, look at you with Elvis. Boy, you know what? You're an Elvis fan for real. Look, she's got Elvis picture up there above her monitor there.
Wow.
Now, Data is king. Might get upset about that because Elvis is king. Nope, Data is king.
We have an Elvis in our free community. He might actually be watching this right now. He's been really engaged in the community. I really like him. Yeah. This chair is a line from Shaquille O'Neal, and I saw it. I was at the office store, and I'm trying them all, and I sat in this. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like something that probably won't break. I'm a little overweight, and I'm like, oh, this is good. And I thought this was fancy, but I never thought about having a rocking chair, or what would be better? Maybe like a lazy boy recliner.
I'll show you what's better. This is what's better. Watch. And I have the footstool coming.
You have a motor in that?
Kurt? I have. It's electrical.
You're a little bougie sometimes, man.
I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that means.
Oh, I'm using words that you don't know.
Yeah, what's that mean?
What was the word you used the other day? I was like, I gotta look that up again.
What is it?
Bougie. Something you were saying about Nick, and then I looked it up. You're like, well, I didn't mean it like that.
Oh, sardonic.
Sardonic.
Yeah, Nick is definitely, his humor is sardonic. I love his sardonic humor. But what did you say? You said bougie, as
in bourgeois. I just work here.
I am anything but bourgeois.
Somebody look it up.
I will not be deterred. You deterred.
Funny.
You wanted a joke. I gave you a joke. It took me a while.
I'm also trying to finish this app in 12 minutes as well.
You never know what you're going to get. You just never know.
Life is like a box of chocolates. I love you, Danae.
So is our live streams.
My former wife, her name was Jen or Jenny, and I would just kid around and I would say that to her. But,
his former law.
I'm not making fun of Forrest Gump, so don't think that.
Right.
That was a great movie, by the way. Okay, so guys, I have ADD. You gotta have to help me out here, Kurt. What am I typing here? We're doing job roles, so I say job role. Okay, and we have a search. Do we have a title? Yeah, we do. And we have title, and we're searching by title. Okay, now I need to finish all these other problems that are popping up here because I just this needs to be that job role. So on this form, we have an item, which is that dot selected. Okay, that should be fine. And it's saying invalid form expected value compatible with the data source. Okay, well, this actually needs to say job role. Replace data card. Now that's something that a form will do to you. Sometimes like, hey, it could be exactly the same schema. No, this is a different data source. Sorry, you got to start over. And there's no reason we need attachment, at least to be shown in the app. So I'm going to take that out. And a lot of times I like to make this, if I don't have a lot of columns, I'll just make it a single column type of situation. But we got to figure out all these other errors, right? So we've got edit here. What's the course type? No, these are job roles. So name one. Name one.
Darren, your app has the measles. It's got the measles. But you're getting rid of them one at a time.
If we're going to display somebody, as we could say, modified by, boom, dot, display name. Okay, so we have those three things. Very good. We might actually want the description in there for, do we have a description for a job role? Yeah, we got a description. Okay, very good. So now, no, I still got some measles here. Oh boy. What is going on here? Doesn't like the selected record, Kurt. I think that they are. Let's go over to our variables. They created this nice little thing over here so we can. Oh my goodness. You guys should have told me I still had four. I was trying to look at Patty's thing here. I feel so bad. I made my screen really small.
I was so busy looking at the screen that I forgot that you had the other screens going.
Somebody watching this here from like, make it bigger. I can't see it. Maybe I can make this MS app file available to you guys. So even though you couldn't see it in that moment, you can get at all this code. I'll probably be posting that in the free community though. So there's a link at the beginning of the video where I do that. So I got selected record. Okay, let's go look at context. I'm thinking maybe it's here. Okay. No. Is it a global? Is it a collection? Okay, so we have the course screen. Then we have main 1.1. What is that? Okay, here's a better way, I think, maybe of finding what this is. Selected record. So we got two screens. One is for courses, which should be working fine. And then over here,
so much
on
easier
select. On select. So if I selected something, would it be better? Did we fix it? Yeah, we did, I think. What's this one here? No, we did not fix it. Okay, so let's go to the on select here. Item selected and current item. That's what happens in on select. But the default has a current item. And we have select record. Maybe there's some stuff in on visible for the screen. So I'm going to click on the first screen and come back. Okay. And then I also need to check. Let's see here. Okay. Well, Kurt, help me out here. I'm running out of mental steam.
I'm trying really hard to this is like the first time I've ever really messed with forms. So this is something I'm learning and trying to watch this and learn a little something about forms. I started
And
right
forms
off
are,
in Canvas. So
yeah, forms are great if you're a beginner or you like them. You know, me personally, and Kurt agrees with me that forms are more trouble than what they're worth. And what we do is we like to drop controls manually on the screen, and then we'll put a button that uses a function called patch that will either add a record or edit a record. So, okay, so this is so it is a record. This selected record variable is it should be holding a record. And okay, I'm going to go back to the screen on visible. We don't have any code in on visible. Is that right? Yeah, no code in that. And I would think if they clicked on something here, oh, that's the default. Okay. On the on select, we have item selected and current item. Was that one of them there? Let's see here. Selected record. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use that.
it's never easy, Darren.
It never is easy. So, you know what I'm going to do, Kurt, is I'm going to try some stuff here. Okay. Comment all this stuff out that doesn't work. Paste that there. Oh, it's a remove. Is that like a delete button that shows up or something? That's what we're working with here. So if I said,
Got it.
I guess delete is sort of important if we're going to do a full CRUD screen, right?
Yeah.
Delete is what I do last. With doing test data, I just want a bunch of data out there. And if the user wants to delete things, well, there's usually historical data that's being related in other tables. And if you delete that, what you do is you're creating orphan records in the other tables that was referencing it. So instead of deleting it, your delete button should probably just make it inactive somehow. So you might have a column say is deleted, and you say yes, and then it doesn't show up in your app, hopefully, if you set things up right. Because you might get somebody like, hey, I deleted something I didn't mean to. It's like, it's all right. It's all there. I just have to change the active or whatever. So that's something that's nice. So I'm going to cut that. That's the record that I will want to remove. And then we check for errors. Okay. And I'm going to go with selected record. Okay. So now it seems to be fine. So I'm going to format this text. Okay. That looks good. I think we fixed the errors. Okay. So let's try this out. Let's try some CRUD.
What's CRUD stand for, Patty?
It is create, read, update, and delete.
It's exactly right. That's
Boom,
exactly right. He's all over
right.
that one.
Darren's new role. Okay. Now, for some reason, they use a check mark. I think that's bogus. I think what we should be using for a save button should be a floppy disk. Does anybody know? It's like kids these days will like, oh, or you have like a floppy disk and a kid says, oh, that looks like the save button. No, that's why they made the save buttons look like this. It used to be what disks look like.
I like it. I like it. Hey, that's a save button. How'd you get that save button? I remember I bought the farm on those floppies thinking that was going to be the way of the future and it was going to be the big deal. And
I would buy them in bulk and then have all my files saved. And then you pop one of those in there like a year later. It's like, oh, bad disk.
Right. Now, did you have the notcher where you could do the notch and that way you could flip it upside down?
I don't know. I don't want to digress too much.
Yeah.
Because I've got 59 seconds.
Thank you.
Trying.
Thank you.
Okay, but we got a good CRUD screen. No errors. Okay. So now what we need to do, we need to go get our enumerated value. Didn't we do that? I think we did in that other project that we had. So I'm going to go in there and grab that real quick. It's called enum demo. Well, things are moving quick in PowerApps today. You see this, Kurt?
Yeah. It's no longer, it doesn't like being called a toy language.
Okay, so I'm going to go to my app and go into your formula. I hate when that happens. Click on app, and it's like when I'm about to click on something like shifts on the screen. Formulas, that's what I get for being too fast. So Control A, Control C. Go over here. I'll go into the app, and I'll go to formulas, and I will put that there. So there's our enumerated values. Okay. So now what we could do. Okay, I'm gonna go off the train tracks here. I'm not gonna use one of their screens. Okay, well, this one should be called job roles. Okay, so we have that. I'm gonna create my own new blank looking screen here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a gallery. You might have 3 galleries, to be honest. I always pick the blank ones. And if you want your rows to go down, you need to say vertical. Okay. So I'm going to say, yeah, course, that's good. We're also going to make this a little dark. And let's see here for one moment. So we have a few more things that we need to do here. And because let me see if I can find this for you guys, because you might want to see this. Let's see. Okay, so check this out. I got to use the bathroom. I'll be right back.
I got stuck and I didn't know how to do it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so frustrating. I don't understand anything. And I did not have anybody to talk PowerApps. And then I went on YouTube and then I found your videos. You gained my interest the way you were teaching it. And then little by little, I started learning. And then after that, I remember that I texted you, hey, can you help me? Can you help make a patch video? I'm having a trouble with that. And then you made a patch video. And then after that, I came across, I started learning. I did the lab 1. And then I felt confident on myself. I'm like, now I can take projects. And then the first thing that came to my mind, I was like, I still need to complete the application that I was building like way back. So what about I go back and make the application again from the scratch? And now when I was doing it, I completed the application in 3 days. I was like, boom, everything. I was understanding everything. And I completed the application.
It's all easy, right? Because now you understand it.
It's all easy. And then I realized the way you taught me, I realized how many mistakes these guys were making while giving the instructions. When you're coding and when you're actually a beginner, and when you're a beginner, you just try to copy everything, type everything as it is, as they say. But now I realized why the code wasn't working, because these guys in the ERD, they gave a different name. And when they were giving the code, they had a different name for those columns and fields. And
that's great to hear. I appreciate that.
I'm so happy about it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your experience there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Darren and Kurt and everybody in the school environment. Like, you know, it's a very supportive place, safe place for learning, and you don't get judged by your level of learning.
That's right. You should always compare yourself with yourself from yesterday. You know, are you making progress? Because if you ever compare yourself to somebody else, you know, somebody else might, you know, maybe they've been in the program or they've been a programmer for a few years. You know, you can't compare your beginning with somebody else's middle or end. Otherwise, you're just going to be frustrated all the time. So always compare yourself with yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And definitely one more thing, your courses and your way of teaching did lower my learning curve 2x or 3x, I would say.
That's great. That's great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. That makes my day.
Every day's a Saturday, too.
Every day's Saturday.
Yeah. So for people might be they've heard about our accelerator program and wondering if it's all what it's hyped up to be. Patty, what's been your experience with the accelerator? Do you have any regrets? Has it been helpful?
Oh, no regrets. It's been so helpful. I think I learned something new every time I watch a video, every time I attend a class. Yesterday, between you and Kurt, got me back on track. I was ready to just walk away and let somebody take over my app.
You were so close, though.
I know. That was the sad part. I was so close and I was so frustrated. But you got me there. Yeah, I would recommend this program to anybody who is looking to learn PowerApps. I definitely would. Highly recommend.
Right, because like you had one of those situations. A lot of people could probably identify. You're working in a company. You needed to do an app for this company, and you got going on it, and you enjoyed doing it. But then you got ahead of your skis in it a little bit, and just needed some help, some mentoring to help you get through that, and plus learn PowerApps for the future. And
Yes.
that's kind of what you've been doing. It seems like your goals are being met, doesn't it? Because that app that you did was a wonderful app, and you're ready to release that thing Monday to some people, aren't you?
I'm going to release it to some testers and let them start testing. Yes.
That is a win.
That is a win. Yes, it is. And couldn't have done it without you and Darren. Definitely could not have gotten to where it is right now.
It's a good deal. We're building something here that's just bigger than all of us. It's just huge. It's a network that we're plugged into.
Yeah.
Jeff Ross up there just got done saying this is the way. I
like it.
I'm telling you, the model is what I've always dreamed about seeing. I always thought this is the way things should be done. And then with the internet world, it's actually coming true. And Darren's kind of put this thing together to bridge that college atmosphere with the mentorship of working.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just doing a good job. Yep.
It is.
Yeah, I like it. So very good. Thanks for sharing, by the way. So what I've done here, as you've seen me on the screen, I've been sharing my screen, and I just try to make it look nice. But so we've got a gallery full of courses, okay? And I'm going to put in here that color, and also I'm going to set up the padding for this to look right on the left side. Maybe make it 15. Maybe make this bold, which is what I like to do for headers, and maybe 17. So we've got courses there, okay? And I want to make sure my my border is set up just like the gallery below it, okay? So it looks like it belongs, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this. Kurt, this is starting to look like that many-to-many relationship video that you did.
It's starting to, isn't it?
Two things, and you got something in the middle, huh?
I mean, it's a good design pattern, though, isn't it? I mean, it's
is.
simple and it works, right?
For this, we'll say job role. There's the job roles, okay. And then what we will do.
Although Nick is taking the many to a whole different level. He's got many to many generations.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool what he's been doing.
Yeah, see Amber there, man. Thanks for sharing your video. How you doing today?
I'm good.
It's good. All right. So let's look at our my ERD diagram went, but let me try to pull that back up. Course requirements. Okay. So what we have here, we need something we can add in the middle where we say pretty much what we have here. Okay. And then we have the requirement. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a container sometimes I got really used to using rectangles, but really containers are the better way to go than just having a rectangle and a grouping of controls. So glad they added that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something like this. Maybe it doesn't have to be so big, but I'm going to give it a back color of a nice, go with that blue, sort of like a nice gray color, perhaps. And then inside of here, well, I'm definitely going to want a drop-down list. Oh, their new template uses the modern controls. Do you guys see that?
Oh,
Yeah.
The modern controls actually have a new tab control.
Yeah. I've been meaning to make a new video about that because I was really excited they finally created a tab control.
And it's really slick. If you
Yeah.
if you change
It can be
from one tab to
horizontal and
another.
vertical, right?
Yeah.
That's what I like about it. Yeah. So for this drop down, I'm going to use our FX course requirement. Okay, is this mandatory or what? So what we're going to do is trying to think through this. Whatever's selected on this side, I'm going to have a text label here. And I'm going to say, make this as wide as this. I'm going to move this down. Maybe make this a little bigger for you guys so you can see it. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, whatever selected in this gallery one, I should have renamed this gal courses. But what I'm going to do is gallery dot selected dot name one. There we go.
yeah, that's points off, Darren. Gallery 1.
You would have taken points off.
Yeah, 2 points for everyone. And if you had that sucker in 20 places, that'd been 40 points off.
He
Yeah.
was rough, guys. Yeah. He helped me get my first job working beside him, and then he was working on a Visual Basic level 2. And the night before the final, I think Kurt, you gave me my lab back, and it was all kinds of nope, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, didn't do this. Guys, I had to go on a walk and like think about what my purpose in life is and if it was worth it. That's how hard he was.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about gallery 1_1?
Yeah, that's even worse. That should be double points off there, right? With an asterisk.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I think this is it. Let's insert. Where are my? If I said button right now. Okay, they're using modern controls. Okay, cool. I was almost thinking it was going to be the other one. Okay, so this button is going to be save. Okay. And also what I'm going to do here is I got to handle several situations. Number one, are these like, do I have a new record? When I hit save, is it going to be new or is it going to be an edit? I think I might want to put it inside this text of the save button. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and say if. Open this up a little bit here. And I'll go look for it. I'll say lookup. And we'll do a lookup on what are data sources? Job role courses. I'm going to do a lookup there. And then in our criteria, our condition, what we want to do is we want to say where the job role is in gallery 1 underscore. Oh, I need to redo this because this is driving me nuts. Gal job roles. Okay. Over here, this should be gal horses.
So much better.
Also, something we need to do is rename the screen, and this will be
Home screen.
what?
Home screen, or yeah.
So assign what is the mandatory? The assign requirements screen. And I would probably make that a home screen. So I could either move that up, or what I could do is just simply go to app, start screen. Okay. Do that. But the home screen I always like to be on top anyway. So I'm going to say up.
I wish they had an option to move all the way up in one click.
That would be very nice. I hope that they do that soon.
All the way down or all the way up.
There
Or,
is a
like,
key combination that works with controls. It has not worked with screens yet, which is control square bracket. Okay. So that's sort of nice. I hope that would start to apply to these. At least I could just hit control left square bracket 10 or 2 or 3 times. It would go all the way to the top. Okay. So for the text here, I'm looking for stuff. Why didn't it rename it? Because I had errors in here, I guess. Gal job roles. Okay. Put this one. Let's indent this. Have you ever seen this before? Instead of saying and, I could just put a comma there, Kurt, and I could say job. No, I already have job role. I have course equals gal course selected dot name 1. Okay, and of course I do need that up there too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Job role.
I might be thinking of filter, so I am going to say and, because I want to put a third parameter in here, which is the value that I want to get back from the lookup. And I'll just look at the ID, and then what I'll do is I'll say, hey, as long as is that blank. Okay, is that blank? If it's blank, we'll say add new. Otherwise, it's going to say something else. Okay, and that something else will be just save existing. Okay, so we know what we're working with here.
Now, would you want to put that in that lookup in a context variable, so that way later on when you're saving it, you could just save the location so you don't have to do the lookup again? Or are you just not worried about it? It's cheap enough just to do another lookup. It's pretty cheap.
Put that in local. Okay, so so we would have to go down this roll, this side shoot of, okay, when should that variable be assigned? Well, if they click on either of the galleries, so we could do that, but then you are doing a lookup on every single click. You know what I mean?
Right. I was thinking there. Could we do it there?
I think I'd like to hold off on that because we're already over 2 hours. I'm trying my hardest to sort of wrap this up. I'm trying to figure out why I got an error here. Incompatible types. Okay. So the job role. Let's go look at this real quick. Should be text. Single line of text. Okay. Now that's not how we want to leave it, but this should work okay for the time being. This first draft of this app, right? Okay. So is this blank? We do a lookup, and does not like these equal signs. So Table and text. Oh, one. Not weird. Okay, so what? It thinks that there's a table there? Like, really?
Was that some kind of an enumerated choice that you put in there?
Well, let's go over there and look. Right contents. Okay. Let me do something here. And I need to. Okay, that's good. All right. I am going to. 1 second here, guys. I'm having some technical issues.
This actually gives me a lot of comfort, or you can say hope, that along the way when you're a beginner in Power Apps, you always look up to the people who are really good at it, and when you're struggling with it, you're like, oh my god, the one who are masters at it don't struggle, and they don't have the thinking moments. But seeing you gives me comfort that, okay, even if you're a mastermind at it, it takes time. It takes its sweet time. So if it's taking me time, while building application, it's completely fine.
That's actually
Absolutely.
programming. That's actually really programming. Otherwise, you're just entering data. You're just entering stuff in the keyboard. You're programming when it's not working right. Like Patty was in that mode for about a week, and you've been in that mode a couple times during the week. That's when you're really programming. When you got to try to figure out when things aren't working, how do you get this to work? What's wrong?
Absolutely. You're a problem solver, and if you're in IT, and let's say you are a network administrator or something else, so you're solving problems there as well. What I like about programming or creating apps is you're using your creativity to solve the puzzle. If
Right.
you're a network admin, maybe you need to unplug your Linksys router and plug it back in. That's not really that fun to me. Of course, that I'm being facetious there a little bit. That's what you would do with your home router, right? If your internet wasn't working, I just needed to take care of something here on the other screen here, so I could focus again back over here. Okay, so what we were looking for was job role for the courses. Is that what we were looking at, Kurt?
It was. I don't have the screen anymore in front of me, so I can't remember.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But you had a different data type, and I was thinking enumeration. You might have enumerated one of those.
Single line of text. I think maybe it was the like the name one stuff that we had. So we got courses. Yeah, course. And it's name one. Okay, let's go look at list settings here. Name one is a single line of text. The course type is a single line of text. That's what I would expect. Sometimes, guys, when PowerApps isn't making sense to me, I'll do a save and I'll back out of it and reload it. And there's been a lot of times that the problem just solves itself. It's like PowerApps needs to sort of flush out and reload the thing for it to know what's going on, unfortunately. Oh, we still have it. All right, so we gotta sort of figure this out here.
All right, select it. Select it.
Oh, there's an error in the formula. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this little gallery. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it here in the middle, and it's going to show the data in the middle. There it is. Copy that.
Uh,
Paste it here.
Darren, did we have in the mapping table as job roles ID? That's isn't that the column that we made in the ERD diagram?
Let's see here. Site contents inside the mapping table, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I would want to do, if we were going to refactor this application, yeah, I'd want IDs here that would point to those tables. But right now, I just have a single line of text. So as long as those, we make sure these are unique, we should be fine. Okay. So I'm trying to do like a, what do you call it? MVP, minimal viable product. You know, this first pass in this live stream here. So we have one record here. Okay. Course name. And down here, we'll say job role name. Okay. So we know, okay, that's there. Okay. That looks good. We want to see all of them for debug purposes. We could do that. We could make the font a little smaller there. Okay. That works. We got those two things in there. Okay. So the first one is course name. The second is job role name. Really? What is going on? You know what? Course.
Yep.
I was thinking about a column.
Course
No, there's
is
a
different.
table called course.
Yep.
Amber, that you made a great point there, man. Like I don't always make a mistake, but when I make a mistake, it's really yeah. There's two states of every programmer. One is there's little memes as I'm a rock star or I'm a god, and the other one is this dog that's set up at a computer and he looks back like the owner just was confronting the dog that he bit, maybe chewed on his favorite toy. And like, huh? So the two states is I'm a rock star or I have no idea what I'm doing here. So let's say course name. Okay. Oh, what I want to do, check this out. I'm going to do something cool here at the top. And we're going to say boom. And we will say, is that blank or not? Okay, so if it is blank, sort of what we did for the text of the button. Okay, and that should be good. Right now we're editing an existing one. But if I changed, what? Okay, that was weird. Doesn't that seem weird to you guys that it's there we go. Okay, so if I click on a different job role, it's going to say, oh, this is a new record. Okay, and I'm going to make this business cert 3 business minimum for site supervisors to be mandatory. Okay, add new. Oh, I don't have any code underneath the button, do I? Okay, so what I'm going to do is do my little criteria, and on the click event of this button or on select, okay, let's do a patch. This table. And then this is the second parameter of the patch. If that thing's blank, then we know that we want to use the defaults function to say, hey, give me all the default values for a new record. And that's how we do that. Otherwise, we will take this thing as the record that needs to be modified. And I would agree, Kurt, there's a better way of doing this because we're doing the same lookup in several places. So in a normal app, I just don't have time to do it right now. So we'll probably do a with block at least, you know. And we want to do this. Okay. Now the values, okay, will be first name, job role name, and requirement. Okay. Role name, job role name. It's not really helping me out here with the IntelliSense. Job role name, course name, job role name. Okay, that's going to be, let's use these labels here. Okay. That label.text, we say course name. Okay. There's another label that we have here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, make it easier. That label right there. And we'll go into this button. My feelings are a little hurt that Kurt left us. There he is.
I'm back, but I have an emergency, and I'm going to have to sign off.
Oh, okay.
Well, it turns out it's Ron Hinkle's birthday. Well, it was yesterday, but we're having a party, and I got to go get a cake. So,
okay.
I guess I get to go get the cake. So I got to get going here.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, wish him a happy birthday for me.
Well, before I go, what did I miss here?
Everything. You missed a lot.
Okay.
I'm just trying to finish this up as quickly as I can. You know what I mean? So the third thing I want to grab here is the drop-down list. Okay, so drop down 1.
All right. So you guys take care.
Take care, man. Bye-bye. So we have something called
Requirement.
yeah, requirement. And what we're going to say here is that drop-down list dot selected text dot value. Okay, and that should do it. Okay, that should do it. And I'll make this file available to the free community that hopefully everyone has joined.
Somewhere there's still a problem.
Unexpected
The
characters.
formatting.
Okay, so the problem is on this on select, and it doesn't like.
I think there's a leading or
there's a parenthesis.
a comma at the very end.
Okay, cool. Let's do that.
Yeah, parenthesis.
All right, very good. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that. And what I'm gonna do here is save. I want to run this thing here. So I'm gonna click on something here, advanced building certificate, crane operator. That's gonna be mandatory. Boom. Okay, well, what's up with this? Why isn't it showing this stuff? Course name and job role name. So that should have job role name, course name. Okay, let's go look at the database here. Okay, so if we refresh this, we should have a second record, which we do, and they're all blank. That's a little strange. So it says new record.
Because we're using a label, that's why. And label is displaying a text. And it's not inputting the data.
Okay, where is the issue at? Did you say inside the?
I'm saying, like, when we are patching, we use the labels instead of, we usually use text input boxes, but we use selected label names. Remember? Is it because of that?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, we could go to that and grab it, but it's right here in this label.
Yeah, it's right here, and we use the labels.
Yeah, that should still work. You know what I'm not doing here? Most of the time when SharePoint creates things, it needs a title.
I was gonna mention that, but then I was just waiting and watching. Okay,
Yeah.
let's see how it goes.
So I'm just going to put a date timestamp in there. Now, I don't think that's the case because it actually did insert it. Course name, requirement. Wow. Okay, here we have a dot text. A field name, course name was specified more than once in the record. Okay. I think it used one of those for title. We're still going to say add new. And still we're getting blanks. That is the strangest thing. I'm sure I've overlooked something really simple, you know. Let's see here. Oh, I see what's going on. If we edit an existing one, we don't want to provide a third parameter there because if you provide lookup, blah, blah, blah.
The way it hurts when you see all the squigglies after a big coding, it hurts you a lot.
That's right. Expecting the Boolean value instead. Okay. Yeah. So I had a little bit of a, I didn't finish this if, guys. Yeah. Okay. So there's the if, and then I do a comma, and then you have the values. Do you see how you can get sort of twisted up? No, well, let's test it, make sure I'm actually right, right? And then we'll say accident reporting, site supervisor, it's mandatory. Okay, I just clicked on it. I'm gonna click on it again, and I have another error. Okay.
Is it a? This is
Now I
squiggly in the end.
don't need that. I see. I had another parenthesis in there that I didn't need. Okay, so I'm gonna run this. I'm gonna say add new. Now we've got some stuff there. Okay. So what we want to do is go over to this test stuff. I'm going to refresh here. Take that out, delete. Now we've got two good records. Okay. Very good. I think we've got it, guys. And what I would do to this this application, I'm going to refresh this data. So it's only showing the records that are in there. Okay. I wish I had a little bit more space. Let's add a new screen that we might use for testing things out. Okay. And I'm going to take the middle table there. The user doesn't need to see them. Cut that. And we could just use this screen. Okay. Zoom out there. Let's make this a little, whatever, bigger here. So we can see all this data in one spot. And we could also put the requirement in here. Okay. And then make this more like 50. Okay. So we could always go to the screen to look at the data to debug some stuff. Okay. So we've got this. And what I think would be a great idea is to actually have a button here. So on Saturday afternoons, it's like my one time in the week that I can relax. I play video game for a few hours, and I'm just making sure that they're not calling on me. And that's why typically I just go for 2 hours in it. But I really want to finish this up. And so far it looks like I'm okay. So you see me looking up. I'm just making sure everything's okay on that end. But okay, so I'm going to say edit. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste. You guys play any video games?
I play with PowerApps.
With PowerApps?
Yeah.
You write your own games with PowerApps, huh? There's the course screen, and then we've got the job roles screen. Okay. Now, everything I'm doing now makes sense to you guys, right? So this is sort of like the home screen. This is the main, should I say, dashboard, maybe, where they can, do what they need to do here. I might make this centered and maybe put a nice blue color here that hopefully doesn't clash too much. I'll go with that dark one.
We can change that text to white.
Yeah, it looks sort of nice, doesn't it? Okay. And I also might make this a little smaller. So it actually looks like it belongs in there. And now we could have like this little thing in the middle. Okay, and we could go off and edit. So let's see how this works. Go over off to this edit screen. Well, we could provide a button here. And we might want to make the background color to be nice light. No. Oh, that looks nice. And we'll say back. Okay. And for the on select, we'll say back. Okay. So now I'm going to copy this one. Okay. Go to this other screen, paste that thing there. So we don't have a menu here, but we have buttons that will move us around. So if I want to add or edit a course, I can click on this and I can deal with the error. Once I'm done, I go back and I can do the same thing with the job role. I can go back. But in the meantime, I'm going to say, hey, Derek Crane, the site clerk, for that role, it's really optional. I'm going to hit add. Okay. And it should have added. Let's go and see if it added it. Yeah, site clerk is optional for this Derek Crane. So what have we done here, guys? What we have done is we've taken that spreadsheet. Let's bring the spreadsheet back up. This nice, cool spreadsheet here. And we made, we got what, 3 database tables. We have a little app that will allow them to modify this data. Now they don't need this anymore. And they've got a nice functional app. Is that not cool?
Yes.
So my question, guys, is what's the next video that we should watch after this one? For some reason, YouTube thinks you're going to like this video next. Let's see if they're right. Or you can select this playlist, which I've selected for you based on the content you're currently watching.
Guys, gotta hurry. Click one of them. Otherwise, YouTube's gonna autoplay some other video.